it's I would say it's a very diverse sector that I find out.
Beyond.
My interesting part is I think we've got.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter 24, verse number 11. We'll start with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakammalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkrupa tamaham mande Shri Gurum Deenataranam Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी तदा रजस्तमो भाव कामलोभादयश्च ये चेतयेते रणाविद्धं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्नमनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगतः भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते विद्यते हृदयग्रन्थिश्चिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महादना मन्निष्ठारकमद्भाग्य मदानन्द नमोऽस्तु मे ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Jai. Okay, so we are going to read from 3rd Canto, chapter 24, verse number 11. So this is a section where Kapiladev is going to appear. He is in the womb, and Lord Brahma comes down to actually offer obeisances to Kapiladev and also glorify Kardama Muni. That's the verse today. Text 11. Sabhajayan vishuddhena chetasa tachikishitam प्रहृष्यमाणे रसुभिः कर्दमं चेदमभ्यदात् सभाजयन् विशुद्धेन चेतसा तच्चिकीर्षितं प्रहृष्यमाणे रसुभिः कर्दमं चेदमभ्यदात् सभाजयन् विशुद्धेन चेतसा तच्चिकीर्षितं प्रहृष्यमाणे रसुभिः कर्दमं चेदमभ्यदात् Sabhajayan worshipping Vishuddhena, pure, Chetasa, with the heart, Tat, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chikir Shitam, the intended activities, Praharshamane, gladdened, Asubhihi, with the senses, Kardamam, to Kardamamuni, Cha, and Devahuti, Idam, this, Abhyadat, spoke. So, translation. After worshipping the Supreme Lord with gladdened senses and a pure heart, for his, which are capital H, for his intended activities as an incarnation, Brahma spoke as follows to Kardama and Devahuti. So I'll read the translation once again. After worshipping the Supreme Lord with gladdened senses and a pure heart, for his intended activities as an incarnation, Brahma spoke as follows to Kardama and Devahuti. Okay, so purport. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter, anyone who understands the transcendental activities, the appearance and the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be considered liberated. Brahma, therefore, is a liberated soul. Although he is in charge of this material world, he is not exactly like the common living entity. Since he is liberated from the majority of the follies of the common living entities, he was in knowledge of the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he, therefore, worshipped the Lord's activities. And with a glad heart, he also praised Kardama Muni, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Kapila had appeared as his son. One who can become the father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly a great devotee. There is a verse spoken by a Brahmana in which he says that he does not know what the Vedas and what the Puranas are, but while others might be interested in Vedas and Puranas, he is interested in Nanda Maharaj, who appeared as the father of Krishna. The Brahmana wanted to worship Nanda Maharaj because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as a child, crawled in the yard of his house. These are some of the good sentiments of devotees. If a recognized devotee brings forth the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, how he should be praised. Brahma, therefore, not only worshipped the incarnation of Godhead Kapila, but also praised his so-called father Kardama Muni. So that's the end of the purport. So in the translation, Prabhupada is very beautifully translating, saying that after worshipping the Supreme Lord with gladdened senses and a pure heart for his intended activities as an incarnation. So the glimpse of the purport is given in the translation, that Lord Brahma is actually worshipping Krishna, but actually he's worshipping Krishna's intended activities. Intended means coming up activities almost, right? So Lord Brahma is not just worshipping Krishna's form, but he is actually worshipping Krishna's intended activities. It's very nice. He's basically worshipping his pastimes. So each pastime is worth worshipping. That's something that's coming up. When we go into the purport, the first few sentences that Prabhupada starts with is about the pastimes, right? About Krishna's transcendence. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, anyone who understands the transcendental activities, the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to be considered liberated. So we know the verse from Bhagavad Gita. It is Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tattvataha Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti So Arjuna. So Krishna says himself, actually, he himself says to Arjuna that one who knows my appearance, activities, and disappearance, they will at the end of this life go back to Godhead and never come back to this. No punarjanma for them. Okay, they attain the eternal abode. They attain my nature, that my world. So that means one is actually above modes of nature, and therefore one is liberated. So that's what Prabhupada is saying here. But I was thinking about, um, do we consider Krishna transcendental, or understand Krishna's transcendence only when we are liberated, or are we also working towards it as sadhakas? Because if it will happen only after liberation, then we are all, I mean, yeah, we all are on hold almost, right? We are kept on pause or hold. So, but then Krishna is not like that, because sadhakas also are are given a lot of blessings, right? Like even mixed devotees are given a lot of blessings to experience Krishna. Yes, our experiences may be of shadow reflection as given in Nectar of Devotion, but still, not just those experiences, but as the definition of sadhana bhakti is that we kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava sa sadhana vida. We actually engage our mind and senses in activities of devotional service to awaken bhava. And then if we just take sadhana bhakti word to word, if it is translated, it is we hear that sadhana bhakti is devotional service in practice, right? Regulative devotional service in practice. So if you're practicing devotional service, we also aren't we also enjoined to practice seeing Krishna as transcendental, you know? But seeing Krishna as transcendental notionally is something. I mean, these are all just my reflections. That seeing Krishna transcendental notionally is something that everybody can do. Yeah, he is transcendental, notionally or theoretically. Yeah, he is transcendental, he is God. And yeah, that's a level. But processing in our hearts that Krishna is transcendental, that is pretty much like accepting our life as it comes, even with obstacles or with anything that comes, roadblocks, or any untoward situations that we have. We accept it with a lot of faith in Krishna being transcendental, and not have this question that is he not merciful? When will I get Krishna's mercy? Or when will Krishna, um, you know, take care of me? I mean, or sometimes one may feel also that, uh, Krishna is really not changing my situations even after all this years of practice and devotional service. How come? Is he not being merciful to me? He's being merciful to the other devotee or multiple other devotees. How come that's not manifesting in my life? There's this whole area that probably, I mean, I feel that sometimes gets unexplored in our heart, as to how are we really seeing Krishna as transcendental? And if he is transcendental, his associates, beginning with spiritual master, are also, like in transcendence, at least the advanced devotees and spiritual masters. So, so in that sense, the feelings of entitlement or injustice fades away when we see that Krishna's doing something in a transcendental way for my upliftment or for my growth in some area. Therefore, this not coming to me, opportunity or whatever it is, and this opportunity is coming to me. So how to receive it gracefully? I am just thinking at a heart level, I guess, as a sadhaka, internal work. It's really uh, deep, the subject matter of actually accepting Krishna as a transcendental personality with all justice, in the sense mercy, and with who knows really what would help us, and why we are put into certain situations, and what are we supposed to grow out of, or grow through going through the experience. So these are some things that comes to me whenever I hear about Krishna being transcendental. it becomes very vital for me to not pull him down to my level of morality, or like regular morality of he should do this for me, and only then I would feel justice and mercy in my life. Otherwise, I wouldn't feel it. So, the whole concept of Krishna being transcendental is something very deep for us to, at least, for a sadhaka to absorb and internalize and understand and really look at it from a practical standpoint, um, despite what the situation may be at our hand. So that's the first sentence that Prabhupada says. And then later, Prabhupada is glorifying Brahma. Says Brahma, therefore, is a liberated soul. And then he follows that with a sentence which is very beautiful. So he says that since he is liberated from the majority of the follies of common living entities, he was in knowledge of the appearance of Supreme Personality of Godhead. This reminds us of a verse from first canto, second chapter, that we recite on many, many times, even today in the prayers. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke. So in that Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu is translated, I'm just paraphrasing, that when one is freed from their abhadras or inauspicious anarthas, uh, when one's inauspicious anarthas are almost destroyed, not necessarily completely destroyed, but almost destroyed, like substantially removed, right? So that is Nishta Bhakti or Nishta stage. And then further and further, Ruchi and Asakti and things like that, stages like that. So even if we strive to come to Nishta Bhakti, of course, our endeavor and then Krishna's mercy, but then our endeavor has to be very active, and um, uh, we have to be active participants in this anartha nivritti to get to nishta stage. And when this is our active participation in anartha nivritti by internally looking at our follies, like Prabhupada says, majority of the follies that we have, when we actively look inside and take responsibility for it and own it, and then try to um, take spiritual support to cross it, or to kind of like um, see a better space than being entangled with anarthas. When we do that much active participation, then it's like showing that I'm committed to you, Krishna. I'm willing to look at my dark spots in my heart, and I'm willing to explore that area of my heart which is very troublesome and very kind of like shaming sometimes, but I'm doing it as devotional service. So when we are actively participating, then substantially Krishna also removes that those anarthas, and that brings us to nishta stage. Until then we are anishtata bhakti, right? We are in practicing anishtata bhakti. And when substantially removed, then we gain a taste for devotional service and to the object of devotional service. Then, as Prabhupada says here, that Brahma, because he was liberated from the majority of the follies, he was in knowledge of personality of Godhead and his activities. So, actually, a glimpse of Krishna's name, form, pastimes, and qualities in a pure, actual, factual way will be given to us when we are coming to that. I mean, it's already being given in pieces and in samples. But as Vaisheshika Prabhu says, you get a sample, but then to get a full product, you got to pay the price. And paying the price is our active participation in Anatta Nivritti, Bhajana Kriya, and Sadhu Sangha that brings us to Nishta Bhakti. So, anyway, and in the first canto, second verse, again, we see that how to get to this Nishta Bhakti stage where our majority of the follies are removed. It is by Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, book Bhagavatam and person Bhagavatam, being conscious of serving both of these personalities, book Bhagavatam and person Bhagavata, that removes the majority of the follies. And then we can actually get a glimpse into Krishna's transcendence, the real way, not notional way, the actual heartfelt way. And that allows us again to keep growing further and further, that we become completely liberated. So that's something that was that was coming very strongly. So after describing Krishna's transcendence and Brahma's liberation from majority of the follies, then Prabhupada explains in the purport about how Lord Brahma actually worshipped Kapila Dev in Mother Devahuti's womb, right? He's still in the womb. But after that, he also worshipped or glorified Kardama Muni's position or Mother Devahuti's position. Why? Because Krishna chooses his parents. And for him to choose someone as his parents means that the person is actually qualified. When we think about the past few chapters from 21 or maybe even 20 onwards, we know how Kardama Muni had, um, did austerities and tapasya for like, I don't know, 1,000 celestial years or something, 100 celestial, like, pretty much a long time. And we may see that, oh, he did all this for just getting a wife? Really? Seriously? But he engaged in that process, and what, without like massive expectation that, oh, I'm doing so much, Krishna must show his darshan to me right now. He didn't have that expectation. I'm entitled to have Krishna do something for me. He didn't have that entitlement mentality. So he was just doing his sadhana under the instruction of, for him, like we can say, a spiritual father, right? Like Brahma instructed him and he accepted the service. And to execute the service, he needed strength and the facilities that would be conducive. And therefore, he engaged in sadhana. So when he engaged in sadhana, it melted Lord Vishnu's heart. And he comes right in front of Kardama Muni with a tear in his eye. Krishna cries for a devotee. Seeing the intense bhakti that Kardama Muni is engaged in, sadhana bhakti, if we see we are trying to relate ourselves also, right, in this picture. He is engaged in his intense sadhana under the instruction of a bona fide, let's say, spiritual father at this point, but for a spiritual master, without an entitlement, just so that he can please Vishnu. And then if he is pleased, then Lord Vishnu can bless him with a conducive environment to execute his service. And he does that. Then Lord Vishnu appears. It's very beautiful description of how he appears and he cries. There is a tear coming down from his eye, and then it forms Bindu Sarovar. And this is the Bindu Sarovar lake where Mother Devahuti takes a dip to regain her vitality later on, correct? So anyways, just coming to the essence of this, that Lord Brahma is worshipping Kardama Muni or glorifying Kardama Muni because he was fit to be worshipped. Why? Because of his being dear to Krishna. So the biggest message here is, when someone is dear to Krishna, we can worship them, right? I mean, everybody in that sense is dear to Krishna. But then we also see that there are some who are really, really engaged in, like intense bhakti. So then we can really worship them in our minds or in our hearts. And sometimes, according to the position and role, we express that worship in a explicit way, like how we do Guru Puja to Srila Prabhupada or Vyasa Puja to spiritual masters, and appreciate the advanced senior devotees who have been practicing for like whatever, how many ever number of years, like 40 years or something. And some of these are liberated souls and some of these are close to liberated souls, but nevertheless, they are very dear to Krishna because they have engaged their life in serving his mission. So therefore, they're worthy of worship. We may not be able it's not, their majority of follies are removed. That means there may be something still there, but our vision also should be a little bit more clear to see what's a person like what is fully a person, and then what is like the little folly that they may have, and still continue worshiping them. Anyway, I think I'm going more into these things because I'm processing these very nice messages for life, for living a life actually of devotion and respect. And after hearing this entire Vaishnava etiquette, how to respect, and this is really awesome. So Brahma is worshipping Kardama, glorifying Kardama, even though he's actually Brahma's son or Brahma's subordinate in one sense, right? He's worshipping because he sees that, oh my God, I just told him to do generate progeny, and that's what he was do engage in austerity for. But look at his intensity of bhakti to Vishnu, that Lord Vishnu said, I will become your son. Lord Vishnu or Krishna chooses to become somebody's son. That's something pretty amazing, right? Like, and Krishna or Vishnu can also appoint someone to do some of the main services that they want to, they that supports their mission, Krishna's mission. So that's almost equal to this. Krishna chooses too, right? I mean, we may say that, oh, they got opportunity, so they're getting to serve. But why somebody gets that is very important, right? Krishna chooses, and when that happens, our mood changes. Okay, we want to honor, we want to respect, and we want to give that glory to that person, so that there we can receive what somebody is intending to give. Like our spiritual guides and our advanced devotees in our society of ISKCON, we give that so that we receive also from them. So anyway, so I think it's different angles I'm going in. So that's the purport where Brahma is worshipping um, Kardamuni. It's 8 o'clock, but just last few sentences of the purport, as Prabhupada is explaining about a Brahmana worshipping Nanda Maharaj. Brahmanas are generally attached to verses and Vedas and those kind of stuff. But then this particular Brahmana says, okay, I don't know Vedas, I don't know any of it, but I worship Nanda Maharaj because he is the father of my dear Krishna, and Krishna crawled in his courtyard. What else is needed other than worshipping him? So, and then the concept of Raganuga Bhakti and Ragatmika is coming here. If some of us have gone through Nectar of Devotion, chapters 14, 15, where Raganuga Bhakti and Ragatmika Bhakti is explained. And Raganuga Bhakti is like devotional, spontaneous devotional service in practice. Basically, it's still sadhana. And what is the sadhana of a Raganuga Bhakta? Is actually worshipping and glorifying and meditating on Ragatmika Bhakti, who is a perfected soul, such as Vrajavasis and Nanda Maharaj, and anybody who is directly related to Krishna in this way, Nitya Siddha, devotees. So that concept is also coming here if you think about it. Our scriptures are very beautiful. We learn something and there's always an analogy given in somewhere else. So it's really nice. So yeah, the last sentence again, Prabhupada um, ends the purport by saying that Brahma therefore not only worshipped Kapiladev but also praised his so-called father Kardama Muni. So anyway, so we discussed today Canto 3, Chapter 24, verse 11, where the scene is that Lord Brahma is here in coming. Lord Brahma came to where Kardama Muni and Devahuti are living, and then Kapila Dev is in Devahuti's mother Devahuti's womb. So Lord Brahma is actually worshipping Kapila Dev, or his the Krishna's incarnation, and his pastimes, his intended activities that's going to come up, Kapila Dev's activities. So Lord Brahma is worshipping Kapila Dev's activities with gladdened senses and a pure heart. In the purport, Prabhupada explains about Krishna's transcendence and what liberation means in a real sense. And even a majority of follies are removed, nashta prayesha abhadresha, majority of it happens. One can get a glimpse of Krishna's transcendental activities and pastimes and Nama and Guna. And then Prabhupada discusses how um, when Lord Brahma comes and worships not just the Lord but also his devotee, Karda Muni. So that those are some messages from this purport, and it's really every purport of Prabhupada can give so much actually to us. That's what my understanding was. It looks like a storyline, but then he gives quite a lot in his purports. So grateful that we are able to read this today. Tomorrow, I think, will be 3:24:12. Lord Brahma will start speaking to Karda Muni and Devahuti. Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. It's 8:03, but if anybody has something that you really want to share or reflect, please do so for the next couple of minutes and then we can wrap up.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please
Haribol
accept my
Mataji.
humble obeisances. All glories to
Please accept my
Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada.
all glories to
Mataji,
Maharaj. Yes, Mataji.
I was actually remembering it's actually 10,000 years that Kardama Muni
Oh my God, you can only
meditated.
imagine.
I
I
know
do.
for me, even chanting every day with attention is so hard for
Yeah,
and so I was just I mean, no wonder Vishnu was so satisfied
pleased.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
pleased. Yeah, and one other thing I was thinking of, acceptance of
Mm.
Krishna's transcendence, and therefore being open to and accepting anything that comes our way, right? One thing is, balancing that with becoming complacent in a way.
Victimized. Mm.
Yeah, victimized or complete, or on the other hand, complacent.
Yes,
You know,
yeah,
so that is, I think, another challenge.
yeah.
That whatever will happen. So we
No,
just
no.
give out, right? Yeah.
No, see, yeah, that's a very valid point. But when we see accepting Krishna's plans or accepting Krishna's mercy, the way it comes in our life, means that accessing that mercy, which is an active participation from our end.
Mm,
Accessing the mercy means removing the blocks that we have in our heart to access it. So that's the, I feel we are not able to access the fullness of his mercy because we already have an image of what it looks like, what it should look like in my life, and then this is the way it should be. We have designed our we have designed Krishna's mercy in one sense, like
mm,
it kind of appears like that, at least to me sometimes.
mm,
Therefore, when something else comes, then we are a little bit wobbly about, is this, I mean, sometimes some people may question, is this mercy? Maybe it's mercy. I have to see it. I don't know how to see it, so let me explore how to see it. But sometimes our hearts becomes closed that we kind of question that Krishna is probably not merciful to me at this time. He will be merciful at a later time. Why he should delay? He's not going to delay his mercy.
mm,
It's like a it's like a journey that we have to take ourselves inside to see that why this situation in my life at this point, what am I supposed to do in order to access the mercy in the situation. It may be taking an action, it may be
mm,
not taking an action.
mm,
Therefore we need discussions with somebody. Probably it doesn't have to be always like a like liberated soul, but somebody who probably went a little bit ahead of us in this path and we feel some confidence. Then we discuss and say, hey, do you see any mercy in this? I'm not able to see. I remember talking like this to somebody, like I was going through something and I called up and I asked, I can't see this.
mm,
If you see it, can you explain? Because I'm in the soup and you are not. So
mm,
maybe you will be able to see something good. And it was amazing conversation that, oh my God, my eyes were blind.
mm,
My
mm,
eyes were, I mean, they are still blind to most, but at least some angles they've opened up. Anyway, just a comment on your comment. Yes, complacency is eh, when we are active participants in receiving mercy, I think we won't be complacent. But when we are passive then there's a lot of chances to be complacent. Yeah. Anyway,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. Yeah, that's important point actually. That's a very valid, important point. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, thank you.
Thank you.
Haribol Mataji, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? I guess everybody probably started working.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please
Hare
accept
Krishna.
my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So
Please
let's hear it from you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you. Please
Mm.
accept my obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, I know it was a nice class, but like I was telling Mataji yesterday too, I always have to go back during my lunchtime and
Yeah.
listen to it again
Yeah.
and then kind of get the whole gist of
Gist
it.
of it. Yeah, I understand.
But thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll end here then. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Madeka bandho madsangin madguru manmahadana manishtaraka madbhagya madananda namaste. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada.